keep my mouth shut. So yeah, I think the play.
Hey, Dream Chasers, welcome to the very first Feed Your Dream podcast. I'm Janelle Goplin, coming to you as the dreamer of Rise Grab and Go Kitchen, the grab and go location across the street from Newport High School. Today's episode is super special. We're not just talking dreams, we're diving into an epic story of a dream turned reality. Super pumped to not have just one, but 5 legends here, the awesome coaches of the Newport Walport High soccer team for 2023 and their epic championship win. We've got a big shout out to all the coaches, Ollie, Andrew, Jordy, Hugo, and Jesus. Their season, a wild ride. So soccer fans or just lovers of an epic comeback story, this one's for you. Get cozy, grab a snack from Rise, and let's jump into dreams, team power, and community magic. Welcome, coaches. Massive congrats to your incredible championship victory. It's amazing having you all here. This was an insane journey this year with ups and downs. If you can please, coaches, introduce yourselves. Just let us know your coach name so everybody can identify who's who.
We'll start on the right over here, right to left. Go ahead, Hugo.
I am Coach Ugo.
Coach Becerra.
I'm Coach Richardson.
I'm Coach Jordy.
Thank you guys all for being here. It's pretty remarkable what you guys did this year. It's insane, the journey that you had, looking at the ups and downs of your season. Let's start off, try to go all the way back to the beginning of the season and look at the start. Every big win starts with a dream or a goal. Can each of you share what kicked off this dream at the beginning of the season? What was the dream at the very beginning before anything happened?
I'll go ahead and start with that just because it typically always starts the same way, but I host a tournament every summer called the Newport Soccer Shootout. And this year we had 10 teams come here, 4A and 5A teams come. And we did not win that tournament, but we played really well and we were missing a lot of players. And there was moments there where I was like, oh, we're actually pretty good because we were playing against some really good competition and we were performing really well. And it was early season. And so I saw glimpses there. And with talking with some of the seniors coming in, this was a theme already, but I would look at them and be like, hey, what are your goals this season? What do you want to accomplish? And most of them, especially the seniors, always responded with one word. And that one word was liberty. And that is where the state championship game is held every year at Liberty High
Oh my
School.
God.
That's where we played in 2016 and 17. I'm not sure how long they've been playing they play all of the 4A boys and girls and 3A, 1A, 3A, 2A, 1A boys and girls championship games there every year. So I know it's been happening since at least 2016. I'm not sure how much further back it goes than that.
Liberty. Wow, what an epic word for the season as well.
Yeah.
And we'll get into all of those reasons in a bit. But for the rest of you, how did you feel like towards this season? What was your job in this goal? Did you have the same goal? Was Liberty your goal? And what did you feel was your game plan? What magic were you going to add to get to that goal?
Well, me personally, I feel like when you coach a team as a coach or as a player, when you play on a team, then the goal, you want to win. You want to reach that championship. You want to get to that level. And for us coaches, our job is essentially to give the kids the tools they need to get there. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones on the field. They're the ones playing the game, and we can only do so much from the sideline. So I feel like our job was just implementing those tools and trying to get the team better every practice.
Coach Becerra, what's your magic? What is the thing that you add to that, what that tool that you're talking about? What is your magic tool that you can share with the team?
For me personally, I like to be stern, but in a fair manner. I'm not just going to be hard on the kids to be hard on the kids. I'll be hard on the kids when they're not paying attention, when they're not listening, when they're goofing off, get them back in line. But as far as giving these kids what they need, they just need someone to tell them like, hey, we need this, and then they fall into place. They're very good at that.
And how about the rest of you coaches? What was your magic that you were going to add to the team for the season at the beginning of the season? It could have changed throughout, but at that very beginning of the season, what magic did you want to add?
Oh, go ahead. Giving the kids the confidence, knowing that they could reach their goal, because there's a couple of the kids on the team this year that are younger siblings to older siblings that won in 2017.
Okay.
And some of the younger kids were there too, watching them win. So that was like something that they've wanted to do since then.
Right.
And I told them that this year they had everything possible or everything in their hands to be able to reach that goal. So just continuously giving them that confidence, like to not let it get in their heads, to not overthink it, but just like relax and keep doing what they've been doing for as long as they've
Awesome.
been playing soccer.
Yeah. Coach Jordy coming in with the confidence. How about you, Hugo?
I think mine is the relationship piece where I try to really look at them as a person and try to help them out and just be their hype man, right? I think my biggest role this year was to be everybody's hype man. You can always see me screaming in the sidelines. I'm probably the loudest one out there.
Also the one that gets the most yellow cards.
Yeah. I can't keep my mouth shut. So yeah, I think the players just feed off the energy I give off when I'm on the sideline. And I think it helps them just get more confidence and know that they're doing the right things on the field. And
Yeah.
so
And we'd be remiss to not include the other coach, Jesus. If even though he's not here, if you guys could tell us a little bit about his magic.
I mean, I'm not sure what the other coaches would say, but the thing that I love about him is he just brings a lot of discipline and respect. Like kids, when he steps onto the field, the kids automatically respect him. He didn't win a championship when he was a player at Newport High School, but he did at Chemeketa. They were the NWAC champions, and he plays at a really high level of soccer. And he's a very disciplined player himself, and he helps teach that discipline to our high school kids at all levels, varsity
Awesome.
through our youngest freshmen. So that's what I would say about Jesus. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add, but
Well,
No,
that
you-
sounds, I mean, that just all of your collective abilities and resources and magic gifts that you have together sounds like a really good setup for what potentially would be a good season. But, you know, big dreams, especially like winning a championship, come with huge challenges, unexpected, huge challenges sometimes. And this season kicked off with a really tough moment for your team in losing your player Santi. Coach Richardson, leading the team through such a rough time must have taken a lot of heart and strength. Can you share with us how you guided the team through this? How did you keep the dream alive and your players together and focused through such an emotional time?
yeah, I mean, I can't say at first. I mean, at first I felt for myself and for our team and everybody, we definitely felt lost. We didn't know, should we be playing? Should we not be playing? I actually have a picture in my backpack that Raina Matson gave me, and she took a picture from her house the day after the players. We went to the Rosario at their house, at Santi's house, and I think our whole team, and I mean there were hundreds of people there, but afterwards the players told me, they're like, Coach, we just want to go to the field and play. Like, we just want to get on the field and play. And so in that moment it felt right. And so I went and turned the lights on. I didn't really give them any instruction. We just pulled the ball out. We split ourselves up into two teams, and I just let them play. And pretty much from that moment forward, up until our first home game, we always broke every single huddle at every practice, every game. We broke at Santi, and we just kept that going. And so I don't know. I just let the moment, I guess I would say, I let the players, I tried to feel it out as best I could of what felt right in that moment, because it was different every day. And some players were really close to Santi, and they're always going to remember him, and it's going to be really hard. And so I tried not to push too hard. I mean, I had some, the I guess, I don't know, it's hard to say if it was a frustrating thing, but coming into the season, I had a really specific plan. I'm like, this is what we're going to do to be really good this season. And then basically everything went out the window, and it was like we were starting from scratch, and we didn't even really know what we were going to do. So it felt like it almost put a hold on our season, and it just was really hard. It was hard emotionally and mentally, and it was just a roller coaster from day to day. And so we just took it in stride and just took it I just told the players, just take it one moment at a time. Don't think ahead. Don't worry about what could happen or is going to happen. Just take it with how you're feeling right now and take it one moment at a time.
It seems that, again, the hardest victories are not necessarily on the field. Sometimes they're internally. And I feel like, in observation of your team and you guys in the community throughout this happening, I continuously felt that you would eventually be victorious, because I felt that you were taking the time to honor what your team was feeling, which is not maybe necessarily something that maybe is done all the time in sports. Coach Becerra, as the varsity assistant, you saw the team's vibe up close during this rough patch. How did the team's reaction show their strength and togetherness? And how did you back up the players during this time?
I feel like with our team, our group, they've been playing soccer together for most of their lives, so they have that family bond within themselves. I feel like a lot of them, they talk within each other. Okay, what do we need here? What do we need there? But I just try to preach to them, hey, everyone's gonna be doing different. Some people might be doing okay, some might be doing worse than others, but your feelings are valid. You're gonna feel feelings you might have never felt in your life. For some of these kids, it might have been their first loss they've ever had in their 14, 15, 16-year-old lives. And some of them didn't know how to react. And we saw it in their eyes that first week, 2 weeks, kids were not being themselves, and which is totally appropriate. Something we don't want kids to be going through. And I just reiterated, like, hey, whatever you need, like, I'm here for you. I know the other coaches are here for you. Community is here for you guys. And that's something I preach the most. Okay, we're here for you, no matter what time of day.
Yeah. And you could feel that, and you could sense that kids were getting support from the people they needed from most, which were their leaders on the field. Coach Jordy, I'm curious about the younger players. How did they turn this setback into drive for their team or for each other?
So the younger guys obviously went to school with him, grew up with him because he was a sophomore. So with that, there was one kid that specifically came, I don't remember if it was to me or Coach Hugo, but talked about how he thought about quitting because he didn't want to play anymore. But then he thought about it again and thought that Santi would want him to play or finish out the season for him. So that was his motivation to continue playing. I'm not sure about other kids on what their motivation was, but Coach Ollie said letting the kids go out and play was a good outlet for them to help them get back into what would be like their normal everyday lives.
Yeah. And it seems like if you are doing that thing where they're coming into the huddle, or you're ending every practice with Asante, like keeping that energy of him and that memory of him really alive during this season. It sounds like that continuously happened. This one's for all of you in terms of the community support. I mean, we have a small town, but this small town occasionally has really massive tragedies and loss. And I think that our town does a really good job of coming together. How did the community come together in support of you guys and the kids and anybody?
I'll go ahead and start real quick. I mean, there was a lot of things that happened. I thought one of the unique things that they had it was the taco fundraiser at the church.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they raised $3,000 cash that night just by selling tacos, and people showed up and they're ordering 2 tacos and they're like, here's $100 bill. I don't need change, kind of thing. And it was just the boys and the boys and girls soccer team had the family come up to the high school after practice under the lights, and we just all circled up around them, and it was just like a big 50-60 person hug, and presented them with a bunch of flowers and an envelope of cash, and it was a pretty special moment. And that was just one thing that stood out for me of how the community rallied around. Parents got together. It was one of those things where like nobody questioned what they're just like, what do you need? It was just people were so willing to just jump in, and whatever it was, they were just, what do you need to help the family? And the family was priority number one. I really feel like our community did a good job of supporting the family through a really tragic, horrific time. And it's never going to make it go away, but having that support really helped.
Yeah. How's the family doing? I mean, I not that I'm sure they're not doing great, but I'm sure that they feel your support, and I'm sure they were excited for your win.
Yeah, I don't know. personally haven't spoken to him since the championship's over.
Yeah.
I texted the dad a few times. I know that we provided a few shirts for the family that had Santi's initials on it inside of our shield
Yeah.
on our way to the championship. And those were shirts that our players wore on Friday and wore during warmups on Saturday with over their jerseys. They had those shirts on. And but I know from talking to him the last time I spoke to him, the dad Manuel was doing pretty good, but he said he still cries sometimes and just has moments of sadness, probably when he remembers his son with something he's doing or something that he used to do with his son. And it's just, he has a moment to himself, and I'm sure that'll happen for a long time.
Well, I'm sure that his memory is going to be really present with this team for a very long time. This story, I think, is one that's going to be continuously retold in Newport for generations. I think it's a legacy story. I mean, it really, you turned a horrific situation into something that kids learned how to turn pain into something else that didn't keep hurting. So let's keep talking about what happened after. I mean, that was back in August.
Yeah.
So then you start school, and that's when the work starts even more for these kids. So can you talk to us about the key lessons that these players had to overcome and some of the things that shaped them throughout the season?
And maybe Ugo or Jordy, since you guys are at the high school every day, maybe that's something that you two could touch on a little bit, just because you see the kids every day in and out of the hallways and classrooms. And what did you guys see or witness?
Well, with what Becerra said, everyone is going to have their own emotions at their own time. So it would be, some kids sometimes you would see be fine one period, and the next they'd be just a little off or not there mentally, but they physically be there. So it was just like checking in with them and then just seeing if they're fine. But everyone just took a little bit of time just doing their thing just to get back to like their normal everyday life. But I feel like just most of them, Coach Becerra mentioned earlier, this might have been like their first loss. So it was like not something that they were used to feeling. So they might have been feeling different emotions, might have been not knowing how to feel, or might not have known how like where to have an outlet to let all those emotions out.
And were they able to do that on the field? Do you think a lot of them took that emotion they were feeling and then just put it out on the field? Could you see that? Could you notice that in the way they played? Did they use it as fuel on the field?
I feel like being on the field was a way for them to just release everything, because whenever they go to practice, and they're having fun, you hear them laughing and making jokes. So just over time, just that slowly just started to become a normal thing for them again.
Yeah.
At first it was hard for them, but over time you could hear them like sometimes joking, sometimes just starting to feel more relaxed and be normal again.
And I would just comment on that too, because I remember that first night that we practiced after the Rosario. I called everybody in after they were just scrimmaging. I called them in, and they were talking, they were smiling, they were laughing, they were being kids, and that's what they needed, is just to be out there on the field being kids. And I think what Jordy's saying is like stepping across that yellow line and at practice and games was a way for them to forget the hard stuff of real life and just be kids again.
Yeah.
And be players.
All right, let's take a break for 10 seconds. We're going to come right back into the season, the championship, and how they fed this team's dreams. Yeah. Well, let's go into the season more then. How did the season progress? How did you come from losing the tournaments in the summer, going through this tragedy, and then starting to build up to eventually winning?
Well, I'm going to let Andrew talk here, but the thing about our Newport Soccer Shootout is we played 4 games and we didn't lose a game.
Oh,
we didn't win the tournament because there's a different scoring system used, but we had 2 ties and 2 wins. And so that was something that we really talked about with our team. The only other team out of our 10 teams that didn't lose was the team that won the whole thing. And they
Okay.
went undefeated and didn't have any ties. But it was something I kept coming back to with this group that, hey, our season started at the shootout and we haven't lost yet. We didn't lose. So, but maybe Andrew can talk more about how the season progressed.
Yeah, so I feel like it started earlier on in the season when coaches decided about practice jerseys. We wanted to stay with the team, to stick with the team, for the guys to buy into it. And when I played high school back in 2011, we had a coach, and his thing was practice like a champion. So we decided to adopt that and throw that on the back of our practice jersey. So whenever you're running, seeing someone in front of you, you're reading "Practice like a champion." So
Amazing.
that's something we wanted to draw. Like, hey, if you want to be a champion, you got to practice like a champion. Like I always tell kids, like, hey, if you want to play at the college level, practice like you're going to play at the college level. Be ready before you get there. So I feel like that kind of helped the team. At first, they didn't buy in. I feel like it was like funny, like what do you mean? But when we had our awards night last week, coach brought up the practice like a champion thing, and I looked at some of our varsity players. I was like, not so dumb anymore, huh? And they just did it. But I feel like with that, and then stopping practices when they weren't going their full 100%, never messing around, trying to be funny. Like, hey, so and so team, they're not doing this right now. They're having a great practice. That's why they're winning. That's why they're doing so good. If we keep this up, like we're not going to be at their level.
Yeah.
I'm telling them like, hey, if we do this, we could get there. But if you don't want to put in the work,
Or we just have any one player to turn around and say, hey, read the back of his jersey. What does it say on there? Just as a reminder. It was just
So
constant
obviously
reminder.
your standard is high, and it's
Yeah,
always high. You have a champion standard. How did the games go throughout the season? I am not a soccer aficionado, and I apologize. I did not follow all of it. I saw posts on social media, but were you undefeated through the whole season? You got it, Jordy.
Yeah, we went undefeated, and then we had on September 21st we tied. That was our first tie against North Marion. Then we won the following 2 games, and then we tied against Satan. And then we won our following 4 games, and then we had our first loss of the season at Satan.
Okay.
It was,
And that one was for the league championship.
yeah, it was for league champions.
The winner
and so-
of that game was going to be league champions.
And what would that do for the team?
Hugo, do you remember the refs of that game? Maybe you should talk about that.
No comment on the ref. Yeah, I mean, after the final whistle blew, I think it reminded them of what a loss feels like, and a lot of especially me, I was telling some of the coaches that were really sad. I was like, well, we still have state. We're still playing state. That's the real one that matters, right? League is all right, but state's what you want to get to. That's the angle for your season. And I think that really helped some of the kids really bounce back from that loss. And they showed up at practice and they were determined. And I think I saw more grit and more discipline on some of our core group on wanting it and really wanting to be state champs, because they took the loss of league, right, to one of our biggest rivals. They did a good job in bouncing back and really wanting to fight every game that we played in the playoffs. They showed a lot of heart and determination after we lost to Staten.
And were they before that loss, were they thinking that they couldn't lose? Or they just needed a little reminder of the playing field?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if they felt. I mean, I felt like at the state game, they were as focused and locked in as I'd seen them all season, and we played pretty well. Dayton was a team that probably had the best defense in the state. They'd only given up 4 goals all season. They'd only been scored on 4 times the whole entire season. And they just have a really good back line. And we had our chances that game, and it was just one of those games where I felt like between a lot of fouls and certain things not going our way and not getting the ball to bounce our way and having a little bit of luck, it was just one of those games where everything didn't come together for us. But at the end of the day, just like Hugo was talking about, sometimes a good loss is better than a bad win. And so keeping the kids humble, keeping the players like, okay, we got this. We have a loss, but we got this. We know what we need to do to improve to get to that next level for the playoffs. So
Yeah.
I felt like the timing of it was actually really good.
And how many games did you have after that before the championship?
Cascade, right?
well,
Okay.
before the championship.
Oh, how many games to get to the
4.
title game?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had 4 more games. So we had 1 more league game, and then we played the first round, quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the championship.
And so did you see some players just go into extra gear?
Coaches, what do you think? Did any players really stand out? they really stepped it up.
There was one player that would always ask me to borrow a speed ladder before
Speed
practice.
ladder. Okay.
Yeah, just to work on his feet and movement.
Okay.
And it was like at the most random times. So I mean, he knew what it was gonna take for them to win, which was putting in the extra work, and he was doing that on his own.
Yeah.
But other than that, some of the other kids just would kick it into gear during the game.
Yeah. So give us a real quick recap on the history of championships in the last few years.
Want
If
me to
Coach
do it?
Richardson makes the championship, he's winning it.
Yeah.
Um,
He's 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I guess it started when I took over the program in 2015, and the Newport, the team that I inherited was really talented, had a ton of really good players, and Ugo Montalvo here Coach Ugo was one of those players that happened to be on the championship teams. But I think the thing that I came into was what was called the first round curse. Newport boys soccer had never won a playoff game; they'd always lost in the first round or before, and that
Wow.
was what we came into. So in 2015, we had a pretty good team. We were pretty young still. And it was my first year coaching. And I mean, it was my first year as a varsity coach, but I've been coaching at Newport High School since 2004. And so I had a really good coaching background and learned a lot of things from Kurt Hargett and Mark Moore and Adam Scarberry and Gary Gavette and a lot of veteran coaches that taught me a lot of things with coaching football and track. And so I was able to utilize a lot of those same things and apply them to boys soccer. And we had a pretty good season that first year, but we lost in the playing round. And then the next year was like where everything started clicking. And I think we realized it when we beat Staten at home 3-1, and we're like, oh, we're pretty good this year. And so anyway, that season went on, and we obviously won league. That's our only league title in the history of Newport High School. In 2016, we were league champions, and we went all the way to win it. But anyway, when we won the first round game, the players are like, hey, coach, if we win the first round, like, we're giving you a haircut at the assembly kind of thing. And so they gave me a reverse mohawk that year that I had to wear for 2
I'm going
weeks.
to insert the picture of your reverse mohawk if you're okay with
Yes,
that.
it was bad. And then my wife cleaned it up a little bit before the championship game, but it was pretty bad. Like, you looked at me and you're like, what happened to you?
Did you actually let it grow out?
I mean, I would say that I let it. I mean, it was 2 weeks, like they did it, and it was 2 weeks before we won the championship. So I was wearing that around. And the rules were I couldn't wear a hat and I couldn't cut it. Like, you can't wear hats and you can't cut it until we either lose or win the championship. I don't remember how long it was after that until I either shaved it all the way off or made it the same length, but it grew on me a little bit over those 2 weeks. And it's one of those things like, hey, if it motivates kids, I'll make a fool out of myself for a short period of time. No problem. So anyway, 2016 was the year the first round curse got broke. It was also a year of first, like everything we did that summer, whatever tournament we went to, hosting the Newport Soccer Shootout, going to the Tiger at 6v6, like everything we did that year, we got first place. We never lost, basically, even though we had a couple losses on the season in games, but we were league champs and state champs, and it was just amazing. And then in 20, we were still really good, but we had some pretty difficult adversity to deal with throughout the season. And one of those was we lost to Staten 7-2. So we lost to a team that was good and we were good, and we lost to them 7-2. That's getting your butt kicked on the soccer field when you lose by 5 goals. And we came back that year. Every game we went to was a road game, and we basically traveled the whole entire north and south coast. We went to Phoenix, and we went to Seaside, and we went to Brookings, and then we went back to Liberty. And it was just, I forget how many miles we put on in 11 days, but it was like 2,000 miles or something crazy. And that was a really cool thing because we beat Staten in the final. So we met Staten again, a team that we'd lost to twice during the season. One of them was a 7-2 loss. And Staten was 16-0, undefeated league champs, and we beat them in the final. So like when it mattered most, like we got what we wanted and they didn't. And it was huge. I'm sure Ugo could talk about how special that one was. And then since then we've had a couple losses in the quarterfinals and a loss in the play-in round, and we've been at a competitive level, but we haven't been back to a championship level until this year.
Third time's the charm again.
I guess.
Yeah.
You said it earlier too, but you said the word legacy, and I've been telling this year's team since we won it, like this year, this team cemented the Newport boys soccer legacy. Like they really did. Like it's stamped and they're a part of history. And I don't know where it goes from here, but the legacy is there now. Like it's, if you show up to play soccer here, it's a championship mentality, and it's really transformed over the last 5 to 10 years. I guess this is my, well, I guess 15. So this is my ninth year of coaching, ninth year, I think, minus COVID. Maybe you call it 8.5.
Yeah. So, okay. So if you look ahead, I mean, what are the hopes and aspirations for the team's future? How do you envision building on this year's success and feeding the dreams of all the future generations, or not generations, but years?
You're doing great. You're doing great.
When we put Rise across from the high school, the reason we did it was because I really do believe that we need to raise the vibration, raise the positivity, and really help this community. And that's what we've been doing in our different restaurants, and revitalizing older buildings and making them new, and really putting the time and effort and energy into something and making it great. And it's based on that idea of a rising tide lifts all ships. And that is why we called Rise, is because we wanted to elevate that corner across from the high school. And I know that sounds really small, but for the community, and the reason we moved back here 8 years ago is because I felt a calling to bring whatever skills we had and help this community. And I feel like we've done that, and we are doing that, and we will continue to do that. But Rise itself is that rising all ships. Like you bring everybody up to your level, everybody up to level. Just don't let anybody sink, especially in this community with the fishing industry. Everybody understands that concept, and coming through tragedy to really achieve greatness is what you guys have done. And I think that's why it cemented you in legacy this year and forever. But helping those teams for the future, what have you learned from this year that you can bring into next year that maybe you didn't think of when the season started? Did you get closer to your players this year than you had before?
Definitely.
Yeah, there was definitely a level of, because there was a lot of vulnerable moments that we all had with each other as a team, as individuals, that don't typically happen during a normal season. And yeah, there was some really strong bonds created, and trust, and just knowing that we have each other's backs no matter what happens.
And now you have those players from this year who went through that. And so now they're going to be probably helping initiate the younger kids who are coming into the program, and letting them know how much you care.
When I look at it too, Ivan Hernandez was one of them specifically that I remember multiple times. Hey, what are your goals this season? Liberty, coach, Liberty. And then the same thing, like he's like, coach, when you guys won it in 2016 and 17, like I was a 5th, 6th grader, like I've been dreaming about this moment since then. I mean, and so I think about all these younger kids, like you say, what do the younger kids think? I guarantee every kid at the middle school that plays soccer that's planning on playing in the high school, like every kid's like, I want to go to Liberty. It's just a mentality. It's just like, it's part of what they think that they want to do, and they're going to work their tails off to get there. I think it's just really created this culture that's, we're going after it. We're gonna just keep training and keep playing and be as good as we can be. And whether or not we get there, you never know. But I feel like the culture and the mentality are there right now to continue to really put up some great teams and have some really good success.
And this being the Feed Your Dream podcast, and the first one, this is Feed Your Dream podcast. The metaphor of liberty, freedom. I think that freedom is a part of everyone's dream. That liberty, and you're free to work as hard as you want, and together as you want, and close as you want, and go after that dream. And nothing is holding you back except for yourself. And your team was an example of that this year. Anything else you want to share about the team or the season or the community or anything else?
Yeah, I'll talk about a few more things and then let my coaches hopefully jump in on anything. But I'm usually always asked, what's the one word that can describe this season? And for this year specifically, it came to me about right when we started playoffs. And I don't know which night it was when I woke up at 2 a.m., but it was like destiny. And it was just when everything started to coming together, like you hear this time and time again from any championship coach at any level, professional all the way down to peewees. And it's like the stars just aligned for us. Everything just came together at the right time. We were playing our best soccer and peaking at the end of the season, which is what every coach wants. And we were playing at a really high level, and everybody, that trust and that camaraderie was there amongst our players and our coaches and our team, and everybody could feel it. And so Destiny, I just keep telling everybody, I didn't know it at the beginning from what we went through, but the amount of resiliency that this group has of what they went through and how close they got to each other, they were just so resilient, and that trust, the camaraderie that they all had with each other helped us reach our goals, which was to be state champions. And it was our destiny this year to go to Liberty and win it all. And Santi was a part of that. And I know in the back of a lot of players' minds, like he was always with them, and he helped line the stars up for us. And it was something that was even out of our control. He helped just as much as we helped ourselves. But yeah, it was destiny this year. And so that's what's going on the back of our state championship t-shirts and sweatshirts.
Oh, that's awesome.
We have the state of Oregon with all the scores from the 16 team bracket, and destiny is right behind it. And then the other thing I say too is that to sum up the whole season on a short paragraph would be, this season started out with tragedy, and it had sadness and confusion and feeling lost. And then it's along the middle of the road, we started to get our feet under our bodies again, and really started to progress and move along. And it ended with a fairy tale ending. This is what Disney movies are made of. And so all the adversity that we went through along the way, and with where we ended up, I mean, you can't write a better script for a book or a movie or whatever you want to call it. But that's really what happened this year. And it's just, people are like, how do you feel? I'm like, I feel amazing. It feels so good. So
That's awesome.
and the thing that I love the most, and I've said this multiple times in front of multiple groups of people, but I really, I don't know if I coined it or not, but this is Santi's season. And the thing I love is that when people think about this championship, they're also going to remember Santi and his spirit. And they'll always remember that, because this was such a huge season, a huge year, a huge win. And it's just, I couldn't be happier or prouder of that specific thing that's going to happen every time any person remembers this season.
That's beautiful. Coach Becerra?
Oh yeah, I just want to touch base on our fans, our support group that we had. Obviously, when the season first started, that travesty, like, we had a huge support system, but going throughout the season, our fans were like, kept us in the games. I'm not sure if you were able to make it out to a game, but the atmosphere at that Newport
Well,
Stadium.
my kids went. I was working, but I could hear it from my house.
Yeah. It would get rowdy, it would get loud. Afterwards, all the fans just coming on the field, thanking our players, saying hi. And then we make it to Liberty, and just the whole bleachers was just, you see red, because it was a red out. So we just told everyone, hey, we're red.
Yeah.
Like, easily 3/4 of those grandstands were all just Newport fans, and
Ugh.
the roars, the boos, the you can't do that, the cheering. Couldn't have done it without them. And then also a lot of our parents from our boys, moms, dads, we would do team dinners every day before a game day, and they were huge. They just gave us another opportunity to hang out with the guys outside of the field, get to know them a little bit better. And I mean, I don't want to speak for coaches, but I just talking to the kids outside of the field, messing around, talking cars, movies, whatever, like, it's all great.
That's awesome. But no haircut.
No haircut for me.
And no
They
bleach
told
blonde.
Coach.
Oh, we didn't mention that you colored your hair this year.
I didn't do anything.
Well, I mean,
They did it to me.
Yeah.
It was on the bus. They told Coach, if we win Liberty,
We're
we get
bleaching your
haircut.
hair. We're bleaching your hair. I'm like,
well, we
okay.
have a great team photo of you in the processing phase of that
Yes.
coloring.
Yeah, I think I had a plastic bag over my head for a while, but they did a good job. My family likes it. I like it. I think I look like younger. I don't know, but I'm gonna let it ride for at least 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Maybe longer. Who knows?
Hugo,
You might
any,
get a touch up.
Are you gonna be good?
Who knows? We'll see.
any
We'll
final
see.
thoughts, Hugo?
To me, I think this group became family for me, and I don't know about the other coaches, but I really felt really connected to everybody. And I don't know if it was because of the tragedy that happened in the beginning of the season, but it really, I think everything, like Coach said, Coach Richardson, the stars aligned for us as coaches as well. I mean, I think we have so much fun as a coaching staff. I think that transmits to the kids. They see it, and so they want to have fun as well. And I know when we were at Liberty, Coach was like, just go have fun. That was one thing he did say. And I think those kids went to have fun, but they also went to compete. So I think we created an atmosphere, family, and to have fun and be competitive at the same time.
Yeah. And I think you heard it in their introductions, but each coach, including Jesus, we all balance each other. Like we all have something we're really good at, and we're not good at the same thing. None of us are good at the same thing. And so when you put all 5 of us together, we're good at everything together.
Yeah, you
And-
complement each other. You fit in the puzzle.
Yeah.
In your shield, you're each a piece of that puzzle of that shield. Jordy, how about you?
Well, so my
Take a
brother's
deep
on the
breath.
team.
Take a deep breath.
No, sum it up. My brother was on the team, and ever since he was little, my dad would coach him. So whenever my dad was like, "Hey, I'm still at work, go coach them," I'd be like, "Okay." So I'd go coach them, and there was like 3 or 4 guys that were on his team. So watching them grow up from like when they were little up until now, like their senior year was great. And I had a feeling ever since last year, because we lost in the quarterfinals last year, and it was sad to see them upset that we lost. But then deep down, I knew we lost last year, so we could win this year, and that's what I would tell them like throughout the school year. Because there's a couple of them that do track, and so I would talk to them too. I'd be like, "You're doing track not because you want to, but because that's going to prepare you for this upcoming season." And then just seeing their growth throughout last year up until this year was great because a lot of them stepped up. There was a couple of them that had big growth, and so that helped out the team a lot because one would okay, so like if one got better, they'd try to compete with each other so they could all be like the best one on the field. And so that gave them that friendly competition for them to be like, "Oh, I want to be better. I want to be better." And so
Yeah.
they would complement it, just like our coaching staff, they complement themselves with how our lineup would go. They would support each other. And one thing we always told them was to keep positive reinforcement, which took a little bit at the beginning because they would get upset. Like if you make a mistake, they'd get mad. But over time, they would start slowly using that positive reinforcement to make sure everyone kept their heads up. Everyone was not looking down or thinking bad, just saying, "Okay, we made a mistake. We'll get through it. We'll get better. We'll move forward." And they did that, and I feel like that was a good key for them to lead them to the state final.
And I think one of the things that I enjoyed the most this season, because we scored 77 goals this season. And that's the most Newport has ever scored in a season. We scored 77 goals, and our players celebrated so good on the field. Like I loved watching our team celebrate. And it was just there was just so many high moments in there as well, and so many fun times that we all had together and experienced.
Well, and did they celebrate in practice too?
Not like that. We can't wait to get our next rings.
Oh my gosh, wait, put those in there again.
I don't think they'll come in clear because the lighting's not good in here, but
Okay.
2016 and 17 rings, and the players just ordered theirs on Friday, and they are so excited.
That's so cool. Well, I want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your schedules and to really help share this story of your season and the players and the people and the heart and the passion and the dreams and the way you fed them this year. And I really thank you, and I wish you all the best for next year.
So much,
Thank you.
Jim.
Thank you.
And that's all you need.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks so
Awesome.
much, guys.
Take care.
Thanks for everything you did for all the kids, too.